You can still get your life back. Get your life back. It's real. Get your life back. Get your life back.
Hey guys. Okay, so yes, I have just expanded the view a little bit more just to get more cozy, guys, and laid back and change things up. I am such a colorful person, so this kind of matches my personality. The combination of, I love earth tone colors. So I got some earth tone colors. I got some pink, some hot pink or magenta, whatever you want to call it. Fuchsia. I have my cranberries, a purple up in there, my aqua green, just combining things together. And, you know, it makes you feel good when you do things that represent you. And you are living in your authenticity. And that's what I'm doing, guys. So, and I want it to be laid back. I just want it to be laid back. So anyway, for those of you who are new to my channel, to my podcast, welcome to Get Your Life Back with Cheryl podcast. I'm so glad you're here. I am a faith-based, or you can say Christ-centered life purpose coach, certified mental health professional, and pastoral counselor. And by day, I work as a mental health professional. So with that, I do all of the things, help people learn and identify what their purpose and passion is, live their fullest to the fullest, also overcome barriers that kind of prevent them from living and thriving in life and operating in their purpose, right? So when these negative symptoms of trauma show up, guess what they do? They end up sabotaging sometimes our efforts and success in our relationships and at work and in business and so many areas of our lives. And if we don't recognize it and we're not self-aware, then we can't do the work. And if we're in denial, we can't do the work. So I come along the side to help individuals, men and women, work through these things. First, identifying them, then coming up with a strategy, with a plan, first of all, to heal and overcome. So that way they can remove these barriers and they can clearly see more what their purpose and passion is. And these are things I have done with my own life. And I've helped many people. I don't even know the number because I've been working in the field of human services from 2010. It is 2025. So I've been doing coaching, counseling, all of the things, pastoral counseling, mentoring, absolutely, teenagers. Majority girls, but also boys as well, because one time I worked as a program coordinator over a boys program. So I did a number of things. Thank God, he's awesome. And I'm going to share a little bit of the things in the topic for today. So today we're going to talk about from layoff to launch. From layoff to launch, and how that layoff became a payoff. And when we think about payoff, don't limit your thinking to only finances and money, because we can receive payment and recompense and rewards in so many different areas. You can't even limit God. And we do need to be payoff in different areas. You know, I talked about mental health. We do need to grow and mature and heal and all of those things. That is to pay off. So sometimes situations happen and occur to really not only make us strong, right? That's a cliche. To make us strong. We can get strong if we do the work and if we got support and community. And I'm going to talk about all of that. But a lot of times when we face and encounter certain vicissitudes in our life, the positive thing is hopefully it causes you to shift, to learn, and to grow. Hopefully, if you are a believer like me, then you know you have God on your side. And we often say in the Christian community and from the scripture, if God be for you, who can be against you? And so there's a mentality, I'm tripping over my words today. There's a mentality from a biblical perspective, right? As well, faith perspective, that shifts the way you perceive your current situation. That situation that you're in that looks like it is mountainous. If you can learn how to, and that's part of the strategies I help people do, change their perception of what is actually happening and how it's going to affect them. But I also teach, because I do this too, you should embrace, right? We're going to be realistic. We're not going to be in denial. You should be aware and be able to express how you're being impacted because of that situation, right? And how it is making you feel. That is important to recognize it, because if you repress it, it's going to pop up somewhere because you never did the work, you never dealt with it. And a lot of us, especially in my culture for years, generations back, we wasn't taught to do those things. And there was a time you couldn't even really talk about it, especially back in slavery. You had to shut up and put up and do. Now, I'm sure, a lot of our ancestors from my culture found ways a lot of times to express their feelings among each other. Some of it might have been through songs, through prayer, through community among themselves, right? And then others, they learn how to bury and keep moving, suppress, repress, deny. And even in conversations I have with older people, I can tell the generation, maybe 2 generations before, maybe 1 generation before me, I have spoken to older people that still have that mindset. So what happens is they have a hard time being able to empathize with those of us who became more aware, right? Because we continue to grow and learn. And so the generations after, we're talking more about things. We're doing therapy now. We're doing coaching now. So we've learned how to express how we feel, become self-aware, and emotionally mature. But if a generation is stuck in the old way of thinking, we can't fault them. We need to understand. But it does cause conflict a lot of times because they can't empathize a lot of times with us. So when we express ourselves, a lot of times it is minimized. And I've experienced this myself, where what you're saying and expressing is minimized, or it's perceived as disrespect, all of those things, right? Instead of it being perceived as, no, I'm expressing myself how I feel. They're not used to coping with those feelings and things because they had to suppress them. So they just minimize your experience and go, well, in my day, we just had to do what we had to do. This is another saying I heard many times. Well, we all go through things. That's minimizing somebody else's experience, and it is emotionally unhealthy. It is mentally unhealthy. You don't have a safe space. And it could be a person that you want to share with because of the relationship and the emotional attachment, but it becomes an unhealthy attachment and situation or relationship because you can't really fully be your true self and express how you're feeling because they won't understand, or maybe don't even have the capacity to empathize with you because they never learned that type of emotional intelligence. So with that understanding, it teaches you how to interact with different people and remembering their culture and their background and where they came from. That's how we learn to understand each other. Okay. All right. So from layoff to, I had to get my little notes because I didn't want to forget. I'm having I'm acknowledging that I'm going through menopause, and it is causing some real brain fog, really. And sometimes it gets frustrating when you have been a person who was always sharp. At least in some ways. I don't know. Sometimes I dealt with maybe a little bit of inadequacy or a little bit of imposter syndrome, or if not that, unsureness. Just a couple of little things in those areas that God really helped me with. I say a little because I didn't let it cripple me. Like I have the thought and the feeling, but I have learned through my own life. And we're going to talk about that. It's the people you are with, the people you surround yourself with, your faith. And your strength that you lean on, all of those things can help you overcome those things that keep you from getting stuck. And a lot of us are stuck. We have an arrested development in an area, and that arrested development, a lot of times it is tied to some kind of childhood trauma. It really is. Or during whatever stage of development, something occurred or happened or didn't happen that caused us to kind of be stuck in that stage. So that's why sometimes, I'm going to go here a little bit, when you are dealing with certain challenges, because you may have a delay in a certain development, which could be a delay in coping and learning how to embrace and adjust and shift. If you haven't learned to do that, to adapt, you will have a hard time during that season of challenge. Therefore, you won't have enough coping skills to deal with it. And oftentimes people turn to drugs, substance, sex, all kinds of things to numb because it's hard for them to cope. They don't have the coping strategies, healthy coping strategies, and they will start using unhealthy coping strategies of what I just mentioned. And so because of that arrested development, you weren't able to do that. So my point is, at an older age, that stage of arrested development will show up in relationships, at work, in so many different situations. Your response will show your that age of trauma. The 15-year-old girl or boy inside of you who maybe wasn't paid attention to, wasn't really nurtured and cultivated, didn't learn how to deal with these challenges and things I talked about. And so it comes up when you're dealing with a challenge or you having conflict with somebody you're with. Instead of you knowing how to emotionally regulate yourself enough to have a conversation and express how you feel and how things are affecting you, the 15-year-old or the 10-year-old comes out. And it's more like a reaction than a response. And so just wanted to throw that out there because, we got to have these aha moments. This is part of growth and going through life, learning more about ourselves so we can constantly mature and have healthier relationships and live a healthier lifestyle. It starts in the mind. Okay, so let's get back to from layoff to payoff. So my first point I want to make is don't limit payoff. Again, I did say this to a financial or materialistic thing, right? Reward or expectancy, because payoff comes in different forms. It's not about what you gain necessarily, or if you do it can be about gain. Let me back up. It can be about intangible gains and tangible and intangible, right? So tangible would be the material things, the money, finances, property, land, businesses, jobs, all those things, relationships. It can be those things, but it can also be confidence, empathy, emotional maturity, what I've got written out, clarity, courage, leadership growth, coping skills. Those are the intangible payoffs. And we already talked about the physical payoff. So think about that. Sometimes you find yourself in a situation, laid off, fired, you walk off the job. We're going to talk about that. Walk off, pay, or whatever it is that ended up severing you from that position or service or whatever, with the perception and new mindset when you do the work, right? I'm gonna give you some, I'm gonna share my story and hopefully you can get the strategies out of it. You can get the wisdom out of it. Those things, learning from those situations, we can turn our perception or shift it to looking at it differently, right? So now we change the lens because our lens are informed by our life experience. But now you have the power, and you have to know this, that God has given us the ability to change our lens, to do a rewiring of the mind, to change the way we think about things, to create new messages in our mind and our brain that triggers our nervous system and our response to things, because now we're changing our perception of things. And I talked a little bit about this in the neuroplasticity that we can do ourselves, but nobody taught us how to do this. So we're learning this, and we don't blame anybody. We're constantly learning. We have more information out of our hands. We have more access to information. And so we should see that as a privilege and be thankful that we do have access to this information. So there's a lot of, we have technology now, so we can go learn about ourselves as well. Not negating talking to a life coach or a therapist, counselor, pastor, whoever, but you can do a lot of the work on your own and get your own aha moments like, wow, I didn't even know I was responding out of trauma. Oh my goodness. But anyway, so God's provision. Let's talk about God's provision, which is a payoff. We're talking about payoff. Share how God made financially unexpected favor in Christ. So I want you to think about it, and I want you to talk about it and express. But this is when you open yourself up again. Now you have the new mindset. And so now you're able to have a spirit of expectancy to see how God can use your situation. You know, there's a saying we say in church, what the devil meant for evil, God is going to turn it around for our good. But it's really something you can profess. When you say stuff like that, it's an affirmation. It's confirmation from the word, because he will do that, right? But where was I going with this? When you start speaking it and proclaiming it and declaring it, you change your mindset. And that is a spiritual, faith-based way to rewire your thinking. This is how Christians, as they grow in God and mature in the things of God, they start to build up as strength and resilience in God. And because of the shifting that takes place, there's a transformation that happens in Christ. You're able to deal with stuff on a whole nother level, spiritually and naturally. So there's a rewiring of the brain. So now you start to think different about things, which is going to cause you to behave and respond to that situation in a different way. And that's what I'm trying to say. And so I actually have a talk that I'm going to do. I'm not going to talk about yet where I'm going to do it at, because I'm waiting for those things to come into fruition and I'll put things into place. But it's going to deal with faith and neuroplasticity. Okay. All right. So anyway, those things that we can expect with the new mind shift is God's favor. I've seen it in my own life. New doors opening up, putting me in different circles with different people, because I made a decision, because it always starts with a decision. For those of you who follow me, you hear me say this often. Well, lately I've been saying, you have to, it's what it is. It's similar to developing a new mindset. And then you're making a decision that you're going to open yourself up to new beginnings, to transformation, to regenerative work. You're going to allow God, you're going to allow community. You're going to create a community, which means sometimes you have to remove yourself from either a location or from a people that you have surrounded yourself with who are not healthy for you in your development. They will keep you in that arrested development stage and you won't grow. And so you'll make a decision how to put them into perspective in certain places, right? What's the word I'm looking for? Men are good at doing this, compartmentalizing things. Y'all go here. And I can deal with you guys in a different way, maybe with a long wooden spoon. It's an old saying. And because I am shifting my life so I can have other things manifest, right? Because of the different mindset and my new attitude. And so with all of that, with the new unexpected favor, new clients, new doors that open up, new opportunities that happen for you. And this is how I went from my own layoff and my own walk-offs situations and that looked like resigning, quitting, whatever the case is, right? To launching. And I'm talking about the things that I have launched thus far. So a lot of times I'll think back, especially if I'm feeling discouraged or I'm feeling stuck now, because, right, we go through different seasons. Well, you can overcome one season of feeling stuck and discouraged, whatever the case is, and then things are going well, and then something happens in life that, can kind of knock you out a little bit. When you go through those moments, like I said, it's all right. You need to be aware how you're feeling, what you're doing, and talk to the right people who's going to help build you up. And one thing in the Christian community, the word encourages us to edify each other. That's to build each other up in the most holy faith. We have to do that. God even understands that we're going to go through different seasons. That's why he's given us things in the word that we can lean on, that we can profess until things change, until things shift, right? And then also the word gives us strategies of how to even go through a season. And the Lord would tell us what position we need to take, what strategies, what spiritual disciplines we need to incorporate so we can make it to the other side or make it through. And the lessons we learn. Oh my God, this could be like a 2-part podcast, because, oh my God, the things that is coming to me, but the things that I have experienced myself. So sometimes we can find ourselves in a season that we need to reset and shift back. And a lot of times God will shift us back to the original plan that he had for us in the first place. But it doesn't mean that what you've gone through wasn't necessary. Sometimes it wasn't if we went off the path ourselves, but God still worked all things together for our good. So he'll take the good and the bad and make them work together for our good. That way we can walk into our purpose and our destiny. We can operate in our purpose. Okay. But then there's a lot of situations where that was part of our journey. We had to go through these things. We have to go through these things because they are for our betterment. They're for our growth and wisdom, knowledge, understanding. And then you'll end up using what you've gone through to help somebody else, pull somebody else out of the ditch. This is what I'm doing right now. Helping somebody else, sharing your experience. Let me tell you, your testimony can help prevent somebody from going through maybe half of the stuff you've gone through, because you're catching them at a critical stage before they jump off the cliff, so to speak. Not for real. Okay, I don't want anybody jumping off a cliff. But I mean that's how they feel, like not really ending it, but just giving up, so to speak, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and falling into a deeper depression. We all can go through different forms of depression, but it doesn't necessarily have to be clinical deep where you just give up and that's it. Nobody hears from you. You don't get out of the bed, all those things. But you may have a moment there. This is when community is so important in your faith. So the shifting that happens back to God's original plan for your life and what you were designed and empowered to do. But again, part of the journey have empowered you. You've gained more knowledge. You have more insight. You can help somebody else. You can develop a whole plan to help somebody else go through what you've gone through. Because there's things we all got to go through. Like, we're not snatched from every situation. So it's about, okay, God, I need a safe space to deal with this. But I also need strategy and guidance. And I need the right people around me. And those are the things you have to pray for. Let's talk about seed time to harvest. Harvest time. This is when we tune into God's leading and experience how obedience will lead us to overflow. Obedience led me to overflow. Obedience lead you to growth, advancement, and new opportunities we never imagined or didn't believe will come true. Because some of us have seen a big picture. We got vision. We got dream. But then there's that arrested development in us, that part of us that feel like we're not worthy. We're incapable of doing it. We don't have the right connections. So we really can't see it. We really can't visualize it materializing or realizing, coming into fruition, all of those things. And so that can keep us stuck in our current season. Today, we won't move because of that belief. That is a negative core belief that we have to dismantle. And that is part of the coaching work that you have to do, right? And so that advancement, the new opportunities, and then learning how to deal with all of those things so we can actually walk into our season of harvest time. Okay. Of course, living life long enough, I've been through different vicissitudes in life, but it makes me think back to when I felt abandoned due to divorce. I was going to be married to death do us part. That didn't happen. Okay. Dropping out of 10th grade, high school. Okay. After my divorce, I hadn't finished school. Excuse me. And so I was going to school for cosmetology when we were separated. And I was in my last semester. I hadn't finished did I go back? Oh, let me back up. No, it did come after. I have to kind of think back on my timeline. I was in my last semester in cosmetology school. I actually dropped out of cosmetology school when I was 18 because of trauma. When I look back, I can understand why. But I ended up going back again when I was married, during our right before the separation. But I had to go back to school to get my GD and all these things. But that was one of my passions, was doing hair care. And I launched, well, first of all, I worked in salons, and I'm going to talk more about that a little later, the things I was able to accomplish because of the shifting and those things that happened in my life that caused me to actually launch into so many wonderful things. I'm so thankful. I can even cry at this moment, but I'm not. I got to keep it. Let me keep it steady here. Dropping out of high school in the 10th grade and dropping out of beauty school and all those things. And then now I am divorced. I'm separated with my 4-year-old daughter because she was turning She had just turned 5, I believe, when I actually moved out and got my own place, and still doing separation because that took a little while. That's a whole nother story. Okay. All of these things, it was traumatic. You can imagine, right? So, for a moment you do feel like, okay, wait, what happened? It wasn't nothing that was talked about. It wasn't planned. I thought we were okay. We had little bumps and stuff, but nothing significant that would lead us to divorce. Again, that's another story to share with you. Then you'll get it like, oh my God, you lived in such an irony. Like, ooh, it's a movie. It is definitely a movie. I oftentimes thought about sending a script to Tyler Perry. Oh my goodness. A lot of people, well, some people will be able to identify with it. Other people like, whoa, okay, this usually happened, but this happened? Wow, how did you make it out of that? I got so many stories to share. But anyway, my shift came. But during that transition, because I was already strong in my faith at that time, I really leaned into God strongly, and my faith community and my family. And I have some wonderful friends. We've been there for each other. That's why it's important who you have in your life. Okay? It is very important because it's going to be it's going to be important to your growth. It's going to be important to the shifts in your life and how you mature and how you cope, because it's not always about dealing with stuff by yourself. You have a good community around you. That's friends, family, associates, whoever, and they are for you. Those are the people that God will assign to help you make it through. So they come with their strengths and their gifts and their talents and their wisdom and their prayers and all of that as well. Together, that's community, okay? Support. Right, so now to shifting and the lessons that are learned through these trials and tribulations, right? Again, we're talking about being laid off. So a lot of times there's a lot of loss after layoffs, right? Finances, you end up having a negative dominoes effect, because everything starts to add up if you don't find employment soon enough. And the longest I've been laid off, let me see it. Maybe 4 months. That's long. I had to use my savings, just a small couple of thousands, to pay rent and bills. And then it was gone. Then to be on unemployment, which is never enough. It's little change, gas, a little food, not paying my rent. Oh no. Not in the times we're living in. Maybe in the 90s, it would have been the majority of my rent, but now not even half from unemployment. So time's hard when you get left, unless you do have that good, what they taught us back in the days, have some money aside for emergency situations, all of that. But all the time we are in situations where we don't have that much saved up to last us 4, 5, and 6 months. That is a goal to get to. And many of us, if you've been like me, weren't taught those things. We were taught about saving, but not really in a long-term view. Like if you need to save enough money for 6 months to a year or beyond, of course, there's no limit, but the goal is to try to save enough if you can, if you're not living paycheck to paycheck, because that's a whole nother thing. And a lot of people are, right? You're not able to take out thousands every paycheck to do those things, or even a couple of hundreds to do those things. But it should be something that we should seek out to do. That should be a goal. And when you learn better, you want to do better. But then again, dealing with layoff, you're digging yourself out of a hole so that when you do come into a new job or a new business, you're paying back. And this is something I've lived and have lived recently, because I was laid off and started working again. And so again, all of my savings I had to use up. Any little money, I was getting money here and there for my business, but it wasn't significant enough to carry me for a whole that long, been almost 5 months. I had to live it out. So I had to start over again. So I'm not telling you something I haven't lived. You can have seasons of abundance and seasons of loss. And if things don't pick up in the right amount of time, you're back to square one, right? And you're starting over again, but you can learn from past seasons. And so a lot of you may be in that situation right now, like, oh my God. And that's who this podcast episode is for, right? how to launch something new. I wanted to mention that because those seasons that I was laid off, I had to do walk off, had to leave, but God has shown me a vision of something. There was always a plan and purpose that happened when those things happened to me. And I'm going to share that with you in a moment. I'm getting ready to get into that. How, oh my God, a lot of times it was what we needed to actually shift us to the next thing. Some of us can become complacent and comfortable doing something, but that's not really our ultimate purpose that we're supposed to do. It's not fulfilling the purpose and passion and maybe even kingdom work that you have inside of you. So I've learned to totally depend on God in those seasons of, okay, God, what's happening here? You know how we say, God is always on time. Now, naturally speaking, it don't seem like it, because it's like the due date passed. The day that this bill was due passed. Rent day due date passed. So, naturally speaking, it seemed like it wasn't on time because these people are calling me like, okay. But he's on time and he comes in right in the nick of time to bless you, change your life, and shift for the better. And greater things happen that you couldn't even imagine. Oh my God. So now I'm talking about, I totally relied on God. That's my strategy, right? Relied on him for everything. Became dependent, codependent. Okay, God, you are my life coach. You are my director. This is how we have to shift our mindset. You are my husbandman. You are my counselor. So I need strategy. I need wisdom. I need encouragement. I need empowerment, right? This is what we need. I understand the importance of community and accountability and supportive relationships, all the things that matter. Now let's talk about monetizing your purpose and your passion. A lot of times when you in these situations of lack and deficit, stuckness, sometimes it causes you to think about things that you always wanted to do, and you wrote it down in your book. You dreamt it. I don't know if that's a real word. I've heard it from the old school. You've dreamed of things that you wanted to do. You have passions, you have desires, and now that you're in this mode, those things come. If you tap into it, you're like, I always wanted to do this. Maybe now is the time to actually do it, to actually birth it. I mean, my back is already up against the wall. This is the perfect season. A lot of you have already experienced that. If it had not been for this particular season, you would not have launched the business, the company, the service, the ministry. You would not have done it. That season gave you the motivation to push you to launch. Okay? All right. Now, with me, I started my own journey of identifying my skills, my talent, my strength, the activities from work, from different experience I've had, from careers and jobs that gave me a sense of joy, gratitude, and service. So part of my journey was to make sure I identify activities that I love, that gives me that passion, that gives me a sense of purpose. And that helped me to even shift the way I thought about even looking for jobs and a career, right? Going back to school, right? Now, in this time, I didn't talk about it here because that's a whole nother long podcast of going back to school and getting my GED and going to college and all those things and acquiring things that I didn't get to do when I was younger. But God has gave me a season I was able to reset and shift and do those things. So because of that shift, it caused me to think about my life and how I see how I can see me living the rest of my life. And I said to myself and to God, I want to do things that matter because that's who I am. I understand who I am. I am a servant leader and I am empathic and I love people. And I know I'm called to serve both spiritually and naturally. And so I'm only going to work in a career that serves me and I get to serve other people because I know it's going to constantly give me a sense of gratitude and times when I'm feeling discouraged and may not feel like doing it anymore, I'm going to remember my why and my purpose, because that's how I heard somebody recently said that don't remember your why does. I'm like, no, it depends, because most people I know, what caused them to feel a sense of passion and gratitude for what they're doing is because of their why. They're being true to themselves. They're doing things that make them feel good and other people feel good as well. And so that's why I am more of a passion, purpose, focused coach. Those people who are like me, that you want to live a life doing things that make you feel good. And you want to create things that you are passionate about, that gives you a sense of purpose, but also can help somebody else feel a sense of purpose. And so if that's you, I'm your coach right here. Even if you don't work with me one-on-one, or you're not any of my, not in my academy, Get Your Life Back Academy. I named it that for a reason, because I'm telling you about ways I've got my life back, right? Just tuning in, just becoming a subscriber, a member of the channel. I created a membership. I have a Patreon as well, but again, I'm not here to really promote that, but I'm letting you know I do have resources for you to help you. And just showing up to the podcast, and getting the nuggets and the help. I hope that's what this whole podcast is designed. Get your life back with Cheryl. I want to help you in different levels of your relationship, your professional life, your mental, your personal development. Okay, let's get back on track here. But I'm just letting you know the strategy I use so it can help somebody else. So this way you can thrive in life and not live a life full of resentment and unhappiness and ungratefulness and no gratitude, because you follow the socialized, there's another word that's coming to me, construct of and mindset of, we got to always work hard doing something that we necessarily don't like, but it's work. But it doesn't really serve you. You're working, you're slaving, doing something that's never building you up. You're just getting a paycheck to pay the bills. You're working to pay the bills. There have to be more to life than that. And that's what I used to say to myself when I was young. There got to be more to life than this. And I surrounded myself around people who are living their best life. And again, that's not always tied to money. It is doing things that make you feel good about yourself and things help make an impact in other people's lives. That is me all day. So because of the mindset, let me get back on track. I hope I didn't take you off the grid here. Because of that, it caused me to approach life differently, approach career, business, even cosmetology. That was a passion of mine. I love making people feel good and look good. And I was always, even in that, I was about hair care. My focus was not hairstyling. It was hair care, because I wanted to help you maintain healthy, strong hair while looking good at the same time. So there's certain styles I did not do, because if I knew it was going to strip and make your hair weak, I couldn't do it. I didn't knock anybody else. That was my lane. You understand? And I feel good about that, because I made other people feel good. And other people told me that they appreciated me because I educated them about the healthiness of their hair and their scalp and their body and their skin. The appendages of the skin, hair, nails, made out of the same fibers. Anyway, I will always teach them about certain products and read the labels and what's not, all of those things. So I've learned more. If you pay attention to yourself, you will get to really identify with who you are. That is one of the ways, or many of the ways, of learning about identifying who you are, because a lot of you are stuck because you don't know you. And so it's hard for you to even find out or understand what your passion and purpose is. So the more you are attuned to yourself, pay attention to your likes and dislikes, things that you distaste, things that you love, things that make you feel good. Start writing those things down. You'll start to see who you are, and you'll be able to connect the dots. Like, this is why I like this type of service, or this type of job, or this is why I like to write about this or think about that. And you start putting the dots together, the puzzle together, like, oh my God, okay, this is me. No more apologies. This is who I am. And then you will use that as a guide of how you will approach life based on your likes, dislikes, passion and purpose. Okay, hope you're getting it. It's coming together. This is what I did, as well as understanding my spiritual gifting and the kingdom work that God has given me to fulfill. When I understood and identified those things, I walked into it. I did all the things I needed to do. I surrounded myself around the right people. I made sure I was attuned to God, to his word, fellowshipping, growing, all the things, going to seminary, and because I know that this was part of my journey. So again, a lot of this stuff happened after me being laid off. And I have another, somewhere on my podcast channel, you will find me talking more about the shift and the wonderful things that I was able to launch because of my layoff. So I'm just going to name them here. I'm not going to get into the story. I just gave you some brief historicity of my situation. Trying to think of the word. Again, it's the brain fog. I'm losing my words. It's almost like I'm trying to grab the words and try to keep them from getting away from me. That's just real talk. Like, it's right there. It's right there. I can't hate. And then it seemed like the word just go away. You can't get it. So be patient with me. I believe in just being authentic and being real. People appreciate you when you're that way. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, if I can't remember the word, I'll think of something else. And I'll just say, you know what I mean. Hopefully, follow me, hopefully. Okay, so first and foremost, I thank God for the opportunity to have been able to raise a wonderful, talented, gifted, intelligent daughter. She's grown now, okay? She's 31 now, just turned 31. But she's going to probably look 18 and 19 to you. And she does look so young. She's multi-talented. So thank God through it all the different many stages and seasons of being laid off and other things, and divorced from different things, different people. And when I say divorce, I don't mean I'll be married more than once, but you can divorce yourself from situations and certain community that did not serve you as well. Let's start with the A to the I, okay? I was able to start a mobile salon. So I told you I worked in salons for many years. But I decided one day, because I needed my money, this is during my separation. Well, I know I was divorced at this point. I was working in a salon. I was going back to school. I had got my GED, but now I was getting my associate's and my bachelor's degree. I said, I'm going to do mobile salon services. So really, that's when I launched it into my own business, side business, side hustle, whatever, because I said, I need all of my income from doing hair. And that's what I did. I started going to some of my clients' homes, and then just a very select few will come to my home and I would do their hair. So that was my money while I was going to school, and I was working as well part-time and at that time I was assistant director of a program for almost 10 years. So in those 10 years, I thank God I was able to finish my first master's, because I do have two, thank God. One is in seminary and one is in human services counseling. So I was able to do those things, and thank God I had community and support. So you have to be intentional in life, right? So that was the first thing I launched, right? Then eventually I started my own line of beauty and wellness products, and I still have them today, which is called His Garden Naturals. You can find that on YouTube too, or Instagram, or hisgardennaturals.com. I'm plugging my own self out there, and TikTok and fan base, Twitter, and Pinterest. Yes. But I launched that. I had a passion for it. I always wanted to create a lot of products. And it started with me I was encouraged to do it because my daughter had eczema to the point where she would pull out her hair in the barrettes because it itched so bad. And she would poke holes in her stockings when she come back from private school, because she had to wear the uniform and the stocking. The girl would have holes in her pantyhose because she would scratch so bad. And I realized, and I took her to get examined by the doctor, and the doctor said she had eczema. I said, oh, so we're going to stick with everything natural. Even though I was natural focused back then, I got really more into healthy living and eating and all of those things. So I launched the product line later, though, when I found myself being laid off one time. I was on unemployment. This is from another job. I was laid off because they didn't have enough money to keep some of us workers on because they was losing money because of the low attendance. It was a daycare and nursery, well-established Christian program. And I was going to school and so I had to get on unemployment. I'm like, okay, God, you have given me so many things in my hand. I want to use what's in my hands, saying all the right stuff, praying and believing. And he reminded me of me wanting to always create a line of products. Boom, I started it, and that's what I did. Okay, so B, eventually, okay, no, that was B, starting my line of products. C, I wrote my first Amazon best-selling book because I always wanted to write. I had a love for writing since I was a kid. Again, in these situations, you will find yourself going back to those things that you always wanted to do. And so all these things started coming to me. I started writing about my story. More about what I've shared with you from the divorce, but I talked about my childhood trauma and how I was able to overcome those things to help somebody else. I told you from your life, your experience, you can write a book. Oh God, I got many podcast episodes teaching you how to monetize your purpose and your passion. You need to go back and look at some of them. And I was able to create a book that was going to help, that's helping other people. And I don't have it right here. I do have a copy somewhere. Oh my God. Anyway, it is called Let Me Out, talking about these things, those things that's been lying dormant inside of you, and how I was able to push them out. And I talk about the real traumatic experience in detail, what I've gone through and how God has helped me. So you can find that on Amazon and Barnes and Noble's online. Let Me Out by Cheryl White Howard. But I'm sharing this with you not to boast and brag, unless I boast in the Lord. I'm sharing with you to encourage you and inspire you and motivate you to tap into you so you can let yourself out. All those things, those gifts, those talent, those passion, your purpose, your destiny, your ministry, your skill set, your strength, all those things that are lying dormant that you have not really even tapped into but never really developed it. And you haven't seen anything grow. Maybe you have a lot of seasons where you started stuff, but you never finished. I'm here to help you finish, okay? I'm here to help you propel into your purpose, okay? C, okay, that was C. Ooh, I'm getting lost. Okay, D, going back to school. Even though I talked about it, but I was able to go back to school, get my GED, get my associates, get my bachelor's and 2 masters. But you got to understand, when I was much younger, I didn't think that I can do it. It will come to pass. It seemed like it was so much that I had to do and accomplish. Oh my God, and that alone can discourage you. But because of faith, because of being in a community around people who are progressive, doing things. I'm around entrepreneurs. I'm around people of faith like me. They believe God and they speaking it and they working. It's like faith and works together. Because faith without works is dead. So they're combining their works, their activity, and their faith together, and things are happening. And I'm intentionally going to conferences about empowerment and building myself up and my confidence and being around other people who are confident. That's how I was able to accomplish the things I did. And from the word of God alone, seeing myself in the book. Like, wow, you helped the Jeremiah, you helped the Ezekiel, you helped the Paul. So I said, okay, you helped the Cheryl. Like, this is living intentional. This is how stuff come to pass. This is how you birth things. Okay, let's keep it real. So that's why this is all about faith-based coaching, because I can't leave God out of the picture. I can't do it because he is a big part. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. Okay. So E, launching my life purpose coaching business combined with this podcast. So let's say E and F. Launching this podcast was birthed out of, first of all, from my career, my strength of helping people as a mental health professional. The strategies I shared with them that helped them, I decided to launch a podcast doing the same thing, because a lot of my clients, that's the one thing downside of counseling or doing therapy or doing coaching. When you have to end the relationship after you finish serving and working with them for a certain amount of time, They want to stay connected to you, but you need to do it in a healthy way, of course. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to make this podcast. That way they can constantly feel like they're connecting with me. We can have dialogue in the comments, via email, or if they want to work with me as a coach, right? Because I work with them being an independent contractor, counselor or coach, but me having my own coaching business. Later on, they can shift, not all of them, but some of them, but you gotta be the right service, the right match, all those things. As their coach, we can do that. So some of them join my academy, help them do certain things one-on-one. But just tuning into the podcast, they told me it has helped them so much, and they still felt like they can stay connected to me in some kind of way, right? So that was the purpose of it. Everything is about purpose for me and passion. G, starting my own online ministry and pastoral counseling ministry. So Healing for Your Soul Ministries. First, it was a counseling ministry. Then I just kind of have everything under it, where I'm preaching, I'm teaching, I'm prophesying, however God wants to use me. I'm of service. I am giving pastoral counseling. I'm doing Christian-based coaching. And so I started that as a YouTube channel for that. And then I have my own website where I also, I save all of the preaching. The videos that I have, they're on my YouTube channel too, Healing for Your Soul Ministries. But I also have a website, healingforyoursoulministries.org. So they're able to see those videos. But not only that, they get to be part of the ministry online. I get to speak to people who are digital, right? They're not local for me. I mean, I can't touch them locally, but I get to talk to masses of people across the nation. That's what I need to be saying. Right. So all of these things that are in me, I'm getting to live out in life. And I thank God for it. H, I wrote the book, right? But I've written some journals and I'm writing other books because at the end of the day, I know I love to write. I love to talk. Be quiet if you picked that up already, but not just talking to be talking. I like talking with substance. I want to deposit something in you that's going to help you in your life. Don't like talking about nothing. That's why I don't get involved in again, the word is leaving me. It was coming to me. There was a word coming, but it's like fruitless discussions. There's no goal to it. There's no cultivating. Like, what does it mean? I'm not talking about fun stuff and you talking and joshing with your friends, but I'm talking about when I'm going to talk, if I'm going to have a podcast, it definitely have to be meaningful and purposeful, or it wouldn't be me, along with my humor. Cause I'm humorous. I thought about doing stand-up comedy, but anyway, well, a lot of my friends and family say sometimes I have them cracking up on the floor. I mean, and I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just part of my personality when I'm in that mode. And I have friends who literally rolled on the floor by me saying something. I'm like, don't push me, because if you know me, I am a woman of many hats. I would tap into something just to get my feet wet to see if I want to kind of develop this even more and explore it even more, right? Especially going through seasons I talked about where you feel like you're in survival mode. You start tapping into things you know you can do. I mean, come on, a lot of us come from that. A lot of us have the mom and the aunties and the uncle that started the fish fry, chicken sandwich business in the hood because they have to pay the bills and they don't want to be homeless on the street. So they find things that they can monetize. That's what we're talking about too. Monetizing your purpose and your passion, or things, your strengths, right? The skill set, your things you know you can do and you can make money from it. Okay. And so, that happened and I started doing those things. There's some things I did again out of a season. When I was laid off not too long ago, I launched the side hustle of a personal chef business because I love to cook. My friends and family love when I cook. As a matter of fact, they have certain dishes that they always say, I'm coming to visit you. I need you to make these for me. And so you have to get creative. I got real creative because I have my product line and I do the vending, right? That's one of the things I do under my business, right? It all fits together. So I do the vending when I'm selling my products in different places. I decided to create, there's a dish that people love that I make. I birthed a side hustle doing that, and I combine it with my business. So I do workshops where I teach people how to create natural skincare. But while they're doing that, I serve them food, and I make my dish, and I make a charcuterie board, and they get to eat a lot of different things, and they love it. And then I have tea, because I am all day herbal tea girl. So the things I love, I find a community, I target a community of people who love that. Self-care. I'm all about self-care. You know that. I'm all about living life on purpose, living life with a meaning to it. And so even with, even with recreational things or leisure, that's the word I was trying to think of. Thank you, Lord. Of leisure activities, it still serves a purpose, even if the purpose is feeling good for the moment, unplugging from all of the things and enjoying life. I help people do that, being present, enjoying life. And so I'm like, I found a way of combining all of the things. The cosmetology stuff, right? That's the skincare. That's the wellness, you know. I refer them to my website, hisgardennaturals.com, where you can order natural things, herbal tea, natural skincare, and hair care. So I get to do that in the things that I do. So letter I is the last part. Working in a career field that often does not feel like work, but like ministry. It was always my prayer, and God has granted me that every job I had, I don't want to say job, because most of the time I work as an independent contractor, so really my own business, but I would contract with different mental health agencies by providing in-home counseling services. But every agency that I aligned myself with was faith-based or Christian-based. So I was always in a position where I can minister, counsel, and coach at the same time. So it didn't feel like work. It felt like I was doing the things that God empowered me to do. And that is, at the end of the day, that's what I'm trying to say. When you've gone through these situations, a lot of times it'll catapult you into doing the things that you was called and empowered to do in the first place. And I want you to also know and take note, it is important not to carry any shame and any guilt with you on your journey. If something happened because of maybe your mishaps, or you just found yourself in a situation, you feel bad about it, don't carry that into the next season. We all go through stuff, but knowing He can take that and use it for greater good. So you got to heal from that and say, okay, yep, this happened to me, or I made a mistake, I ended up here, but you know what? I serve a God who says there is no condemnation to those who are in Him, in Christ. I can get up from here and keep it moving. I can recover. I can learn the lessons, and I can continue to thrive. I can reset my life. I can reshift and move forward. And that's what I want you to remember. So let me leave this with you as well. Sometimes God has to cancel you from a current situation, a job, or a system to shift you to do kingdom work, kingdom business. So you can serve God in your business, in your company, in your service, on your job. It can happen. You just got to be intentional about it. So the pink slip wasn't punishment. It was God paying you back on purpose or in purpose. I want to say that one more time. The pink slip, or you might have resigned and quit as well. Okay, so plug it all in there. The pink slip wasn't punishment. It was God paying you back in purpose. I want you to walk away with that. I knew this podcast was going to be a little long. However, you know how things, you just start talking and things start coming to you. But I really want to help somebody. So let me know in the comment section if you got any nuggets, because every message is not for everybody. But you can eat the meat and spit out the bones. I've learned that. I know I've said it often. Some of you heard me say it if you've been following me. And if you're not following me, you need to subscribe. You need to hit the like and share buttons. Okay, options. You need to hit the bell so you can receive notifications of every new upload or when I'm going live, because I started doing more live streams as well on YouTube, okay? And be part of the Get Your Life Back tribe. Really, I love to serve. I love to help in any capacity God sees fit. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for you. I'm not here just for me. I had to get me together and constantly get me together so I can be here for you. That's just how life works. All right, guys, I love you so much. And if you have any things that may have came to you while I was talking that you would like me to talk about, any topics, put them in the comment section. And I want to know how I have helped you, how this episode has helped you. I want to see the activity. I want us to be a dialogue. This may create another episode from this episode. You understand? That may be aligned with it, and we can continue the conversation. There's something else that might have came to you, and maybe you have a question, it's a statement you have, and you want me to talk about it, you want me to expound. I will do that. That's what I'm here for. Love you all. Okay, guys. Bye.
Get your life back.